if you wouldn't mind, boys, are you ready to start the show?
Why, yes, sir. Gentleman, farmer.
Okay, as soon as Cody stops jerking off, we'll
Plugging my
start the show.
vape pen in. No, I was jerking off. That's the easiest solution.
Welcome to Roast Mortem.
Oh my God!
First
hello.
show
Hi.
that the internet said maybe not to. Hi, I'm Tom.
I'm Travis.
I will be your Cody for this evening.
Mike didn't join us. Guess why, guys?
What?
He doesn't care.
Dude, I think Mike, I keep saying this, but I think he started another show. Doesn't like us anymore.
Oh yeah, what kind of show did you think he would do? If Mike cared about a podcast, what do you think he would do?
I think Mike is doing a skate/GTA San Andreas show where he skates around and plays GTA San Andreas in random locations.
I could see it.
I want Mike to do a cooking show, like a stoner cooking show, because like I haven't told you guys this, but like once upon a time, I had a dream that featured Mike, and I was over his house for whatever reason, and I've never been to his house in real life, but I was over at what I presumed was his house, and he was so excited. He's like, Cody, I made something, and you got to taste it. And I'm like,
no.
Okay. What do you?
Oh, God.
What do you got? And he's like, I call this seafood chili. And I'm just sitting there like, Mike, you don't understand the concept of seafood and or chili if you've made something called seafood chili. And he's like, no, dude, you got to try it. It's great. And I felt like I spent the entire 6 hours sleep just being like, no, Mike, I'm not eating something called seafood chili.
This is the ulcerous dream that will enter your brain once you've even imagined the South Shore of Long Island. It is a mess down there. Everything can be chili, and some things are sick.
Dude, I mean, I know that I can make a chili out of anything, but how is your chili of a week, Tom?
Oh, you got me.
Yeah, if all the days were different types of meat, you would put it into a chili. What was the highlight of it?
All right, the highlight of this week. Shout out to my girlfriend, Gabriella. She got me a cavaquinho, which is a real ukulele, not one of those Hawaiian ones.
Dude, I thought it was high when I was looking at that picture with you holding it.
It's a beautiful little guitar that they base
so tiny
ukuleles off of, because the Portuguese, as stupid as Cody thinks Portuguese people are, they made the small instrument first.
Fucking racist, Cody. A little bit racist.
He's canceled, and I'm excited to play very high-tuned little chords.
Wait, so if that's true, Tom, then is culturally appropriating the Portuguese?
Me? Well,
no, is the big Hawaiian guy?
Yeah.
He is he's guilty of eating too much cream, and that's about it, really. That's
what killed him.
He seems like a lovely man.
He's dead.
Yeah,
he seemed like a lovely man.
He's wrapped in a lot of plastic.
He was over the rainbow, singing a song I didn't care for and making it a little more fun. Because Judy Garland's version.
Did you hear how that song was recorded?
I've heard legends about how that was like, I got an idea, brother. And then he went out and rocket powered it in like 15 minutes.
It was fucking 3 a.m.
Even better.
And he needed like to wake up people for like the keys to the studio to like push it out.
Well, you know what? God bless him. He's dead now. We won't do an episode on him because he only did one thing, which was, well, two things. He made one song that's very nice and ate. Nothing wrong with that.
Sometimes at the same time, simultaneously.
Yeah, probably. Cody,
full
circle. How was your week?
Oh my God, it was actually eventful. For the people at home, I'm going to date the episode real quick. It's the episode before our Thanksgiving on this timeline. And yesterday, I just only then got my Trump bucks.
You got your Trump bucks?
Yesterday, I got my Trump bucks. And we're really close to Thanksgiving at the time of this recording. I just got my Trump bucks. And everyone who got Trump bucks knows in the bottom corner, it's printed, President Donald J. Trump. So I'm so curious to see if I attempt to cash this after January 20th, what will happen? Because he's technically not the president anymore. So if I go into my bank and I'm just like, yo, $1,200, please, and I'm curious to see if they'll be like, this man is not president anymore.
Yeah, it's
no.
a forgery after a while. Well, who knows?
I'll be like, this was the most expensive experiment I've ever done.
That you're going to have to pay back.
You can scribble in like President Joe Biden in there and see if they take that. You know what, dude? God bless every president.
Yeah.
Now, Travis, I care. So what is going on with your week?
Oh, thanks, Tom. I've just had a crazy, crazy week. I went outside the other day, and I found that I had a big old flat tire.
Well, we're going to be
bigger than inflated.
We're going to be talking about a flat tire later, but tell me about your flat tire.
I don't know what happened. I don't know if I rolled over like a porcupine or if maybe I got Antifa, but my tire was so flat, I had to call AAA because I didn't want to put my big ass in the middle of the road. $1,000 later, after doing all these repairs in my car.
$1,000 flat?
Well, I had them replace all my tires, so that was like $500.
All
of
them.
them.
At the same
Then I
time.
had them do the shocks. You know, they lump everything in because cars are fun.
I was going to say, that's like Santa Monica tires. But you don't live in Santa Monica.
Well, you know, I mean, I drive a Ford Fiesta, but I thought I'd go for the McLaren tires.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
I like that.
my car goes from 0 to 60 in about 20 seconds, which is very exciting.
It is, yeah. You are truly one to zip. Performance isn't always measured. Never mind. There's nothing there. That would be fun to have on your car.
So I figured let's get McLaren tires on my car.
Hey, you know, like, I feel like in Portland, that's got to be a fun thing to have on your car. Like something that's like you pull up and there's a homeless man asking for spare change, and you go, "You see them tires? Ain't got no spare change. Spent it all on that."
Yeah.
You can't have these tires.
You can't have them.
These little profile rims, I'm going to have to pay for the dents because you have to get them out of there real quick. I'm not paying for your abortion. I'm not paying for that, lady. Go away. So for Portland, I think you could be more creative with how you show off those tires. So I'm glad you spent $1,000. Could have been $3,000 is my point.
Yeah. Well, you know, now my car's all premium. Now it's the Cum Fiesta is back to its spiciness. It's a spicy Cum Fiesta car. You know, I can drive around real slow.
I don't know if anyone here remembers the website Cum Fiesta. I know you do, Travis, as you repeat.
It's a classic.
Often. Yeah, classic pornography website.
.gov?
No, yeah, it was a .gov. But if you went there and you typed in Cum Fiesta as the username and Cum Fiesta as the password, you would get into the site.
I did not know that. Why were you holding out on me?
I didn't. Well, we weren't friends. You called me a cancer
you know what?
patient.
I think that was the best setup for any type of porn because the woman would knock on the door and say, "I'm here for the Cum Fiesta."
It was amazing what you can do with just knocking on a door like that. And any man would be like, "I'll improvise. Come on in."
I think the Jehovah's should learn a lesson from the Cum Fiesta. But Tom, who is on the chopping block?
Yeah.
Okay, chopping block tonight. We're not going to
you
talk about cum once, I don't think. Very sad
No.
script.
Well,
Okay, so tonight
yeah.
we're talking about a woman named Mary Eddy Baker, or Mary Baker Eddy. Those were two different names she had. Doesn't matter. Mary Eddy Baker.
Wait, is she an Eddie or is she a baker? Does she
Well,
bake
see,
or
the thing
does
is-
she Ed?
She starts off as one of those Mary Bakers, and then the Eddie gets thrown in there, and I've seen it in multiple ways, to be honest with you. It doesn't matter. Mary Eddy Baker. Now, this flat tire of a woman somehow started an American organization called the Church of Christ Scientist, also known as Christian Science.
Oh shit, we doing Christian Science right now?
Yeah, man, we're going to have fun.
We doing how Jesus turned the fish into an ape and then the sun revolves around the earth type of shit?
Right. Now, this is possibly the only organization to date that allows both Christians and people who like Neil deGrasse Tyson too much to point and laugh and say, "What you doing?" This is the common ground. You know, no one really gets it except the people who really got it. Now, Mary is the author of the key book behind the Church of Christ Scientist, Science and the Key with Health to Scriptures. Wait, did I say that right? Science and health with the key to scriptures. Excuse me, you can keep that in, Zwick. Who cares? A book that, as expected, has many mixed reviews on Goodreads.com.
Oh.
Now, what kind of sick person rates a religious book on Goodreads.com? How little do you care about your time?
I don't know. I walk around, I'm like, this Broble's pretty nice. It's got nice gold leafing on the sides. I'm going to give it a 10.
It's 1 to 5.
All right, well, I'm going to give it a 10 because it's got gold on the sides, dog. I mean, that means that the words on the inside make more powerful.
Yeah, I love the word of God. At any rate, Mary did it. So let's talk about her and how she did it.
What is the word of God? I feel it's just don't.
Yeah, don't. That was
don't.
Best summed up as don't.
Yeah,
Don't.
Yeah, sup and don't.
Don't.
When he shows up in the Old Testament, yo, sup.
Should I watch the movie All Dogs Go to Heaven? Don't age well. Don't watch it. Don't matter. So
wait, is All Dogs Go to Heaven? Is that a Christian Science book? Because it's telling you about Christianity that all dogs, as doctrine, go to heaven.
That's actually a huge schism in the church because some people believe only humans have souls, therefore all dogs do not go to heaven. So there's some ministers that are telling 6-year-old Sally Mae just your Pomeranian's rotting in hell once he dies.
Well, it's not like hell though. They just go, it just kind of stops. Which I think is how a lot of people think about themselves. You know, a lot of Christians have it most of the way. Well, look, one point I want to make about this show right now that we're doing, Travis, I don't want to cut you off anymore, but what I will say is that I don't intend to do any religious bashing. I'm over it. Bill Hicks is dead. I know. I don't care anymore. We're just going to have fun with this woman. You know, I don't need this fucking Bill Maher, they did the religion. Oh, they said they did it. Well, what about this? Not doing that tonight.
Well, the only thing I wanted to say, though, Cody, is you're right, because that is the reason, that was my falling out of religion. Because I remember talking...
puppies don't get in?
Well, and my kitty cats, because I remember talking to the youth group leader, and I was like, dude, I'm so excited to go to heaven, which is fucked up for a kid to say, because, you know...
Yeah.
And I'm like, so excited to go to heaven, because I get to see my dead cat that just died. She's like, bad news, bud. That cat doesn't exist anymore. Well, how is it heaven? This is a place I want to go. I want to see my cat.
Oh, you know,
this is petless.
As the Christians say, all cats die of AIDS. So obviously they're going to hell.
All right. So tell us about Mary Baker, Eddy boy.
Born in Bow, B-O-W, New Hampshire on July 16th, 1821 to Mark Baker and Abigail Baker. As you could guess, this was a couple. They were very into God together. This is their bonding experience. I guess they met on the street. You like God? Okay, let's start a family. Mark was a Protestant Congregationalist, the kind that got off on telling people that they were going to hell. Loved it. It's all he talked about, really.
We've talked about Congregationalists before. That's Henry Beecher. And who was the other guy we did? We did another one that was a Congregationalist.
They happen through history. American history is founded on these people, these religious wackos, and not annoying.
Well, they're the direct descendants of pilgrims,
right?
And
they're Puritans.
These are people that put belts on their hats.
Fuck them.
I mean, you know when you see a boomer get upset about a gentleman wearing his hat with the tags on it or something.
Well, to be fair, I get upset, but...
This country was founded by people that put belts on their hats.
Right. And they put pants on the wrong side of their ass. With their, what they call the knickers, that would come up to the wrong area. Everyone was wearing capris, as if they're some kind of French man. Now, the family was, they were all on board with this. Mark's going off about hell this, hell that. No one seemed to really go against the grain, but he never shut up anyway. You know, I could only imagine this as like a sports team, a family that is into one sports team. They find things to argue about, even though they're on one or fans of one sports team. what I'm trying to paint here is that it was a lot of rambling. It's like the equivalency of nice weather out there is you're gone to hell.
Dude, Reggie Danielson could totally throw the ball farther than Steven Robinson.
Right.
Because
they fight about that.
If you look at the left muscle on his bicep, dude, it is so much stronger.
Now
That's how sports are, right?
That's pretty
Jerks
much
lefty.
it. I mean, you are one of those annoying sports ball guys. You always have been. And I love
I know
you
how to
for
catch
it.
and pitch.
You're actually very athletic. People don't know that about you. You don't like sports, but you can run, you can jump, I can hit
fall.
You can fall. Travis is the most athletic person on this
I've
show.
seen it.
Actually,
I think if Jackie Chan ever retires from life, I'm going to step in.
dude, I would love to be managed by the Chinese government. Mary and her 5 older siblings worked on the family farm and talked about hell 6 days a week. Now, every Sunday, Mark would tell the kids to take a load off, relax a bit, and talk about hell over a cloudy glass of warm water.
Yeah.
Mary's dad was such a Sabbath nut that if anyone worked at all, he gave him a good old 1800s whooping. He's like, no, you can't
That's
be
work,
working
though.
on. Yeah, that's work. Well, no, it's gospeling.
It's pleasure.
Gospeling.
Cody, do you want? I think you might like this. Actually, this is way up your alley of psychology. So
Oh, no.
this good-hearted Congregationalist beat he beat a chicken to death for hopping around too much on the Sabbath.
You can't.
He said that looks like work to me.
That chicken's got Satan in him.
Yeah, and here we have the first ever Chick-fil-A dinner.
Right?
Right? They don't work on Sundays. I was
love
just talking
chicken.
about that today. I was like, what other company doesn't work on Sundays? And it must have been this man who started Chick-fil-A.
He could have. I mean, he certainly made some nuggets that they ate on Monday morning.
Yeah, it's ready on Monday. Gotta go to Burger King on Sunday where they don't work. They just feed the Whopper. And he spits out food into your window.
The Whopper, the old magical deep thought Whopper, who sits there
Yeah.
and eats virgin children gathered from Epstein's Island and delivers them onto plates.
Me Whopper, feed me.
We were able to get around the puritanical blue collar laws of this country by making a species that knew no God.
What is God? Help.
Now, Mary claimed she was 8 years old when she first heard the voice of God. She told her mom about the voice, and her mom was like, "No, you're too young for God to speak to you." And her dad was like, "That's impossible. You've been studying books too much, and your brain is too big for your body. You're probably having a really hard time adjusting. Hey, have you heard about this place called Hell? From what I hear, it's really hot. You don't want to go down there."
Steamy.
Now, this was true. She was quite the bookworm. She spent a lot of her time reading books, studying things. You know, how does things do it? When books didn't make sense, they were all fantasy, technically, because science hadn't been really invented. We just figured out that apples fall out of trees a few years ago. Didn't make much progress since.
Gotcha.
Tom, excuse me, because we were talking about such heady subjects of heaven and hell. What time period are we in right now? Where are we at?
Well, she's born in 1821, so now we're talking about 1829.
So a woman is just on the same level in 1829 as a snail. A snail doesn't think too much. It just moves around.
Gastropods.
Well, what do you mean?
Well, I'm saying she's breaking out of her shell and turning into a beautiful banana slug.
Okay. Yeah.
Because she's learning, and her dad is like, "No, here's your shell. You get back in there, banana slug. You're too beautiful and thoughtful of a creature. You need to be in your shell again."
I think that's a really good analogy, actually, Travis. I think that this is the kind of woman that would frequent a Dairy Queen and talk about how if you hold the ice cream upside down long enough, it's gonna fall. She's going to tell the truth. This is the kind of woman she is. She goes, "Oh, well, you got to hold it upside down longer for us to see science about it." Because she
Don't
was smart.
trick me with your blizzards.
She was smart.
Dairy Queen.
So good analogy there. Yeah, she was breaking out of her conventional shell, and she was telling people that they need to hold on to their ice cream longer to see what really happens.
Yeah.
At any rate, some of her siblings and cousins played along and claimed that they heard the voice of God too. They were like, "Oh, shit!" So they're feeding this thing to her, where she's like, "I hear God," and they're all like, "Oh, shit." So one cousin, who was sadly named Mahidabel Huntoon.
Mahi Dabble Huntoon?
Yeah.
Tom's having a stroke.
Yeah.
Call him an ambulance.
Writing this down, this my reference for this. I can't believe I did it. Mahidabel Huntoon, okay? Name your kid that.
Is that the new soft drink that's replacing Baja Blast at Taco Bell?
Could be. I mean, Taco Bell, I was having... No, too much tangent. Let's bring it back in.
We've already talked about Dairy Queen, Burger King, and Taco Bell in this fucking episode.
Yeah, you're right, Cody. Thank you for keeping me on track. So it said that, Huntoon had heard Mary's name be called by a disembodied voice as well. Who would have fucking thought? So now we have other children backing up a child's claims that she's hearing God's. So a few months go by where Mary's hearing God call her name. So Mary, Mary, Mary. Not very exciting. Her mother, Abigail, started to buy into this shit. She believed it. She's like, all right, well, the first few months I thought you were crazy. Now, because you won't shut up about it, let's do it. So she told Mary to say,
Let's do it.
the next time she hears God speak out, repeat after me. Speak, Lord, for thy servant heareth.
Speak, Lord, for our servant heareth.
Right.
Almost.
So next time she heard
Did I
it.
do it?
Yeah, you did it. But, you know what? Just
said-
do it again.
Your versus our.
Speak, Lord, for my boner giveth.
Right. So she
Closer.
did that after the second time she heard it again. Now, the first time she choked up and she felt that God was mad at her. So she's like, oh, God, choked up. I couldn't say them words. But then you have this, like, I got to say it next time. So round 2, she says it. God doesn't come back. He's gone. Last time.
He's gone.
Now, it's funny how God works like that. This is a woman.
Wait, is God the fucking candy man? Is she like saying this shit into a mirror?
I don't know, dude. I don't think she is. I think she's saying it out in the middle of a field.
Oh, okay.
I don't think that they had mirrors back then.
She did not know what she looked like when
Yeah,
she was
she-
saying this.
Yeah.
She hatheth not know knowledge of how she looketh. She hatheth not know that she looks like skinny bitchums. Is
Gotcha.
bitchums biblical? We'll discuss this later. By the time she was 10 years old, she was praying 7 times a day, making journal entries about the content of her prayers to measure spiritual growth. When she was 12, she found a hole in her father's views about
Okay.
the religion thing. Now she had been doing her best to study. What a
Cody and I
lady!
both,
She
Cody and I
studied.
both went the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She
When
found
she
a
was
hole.
12, when she was 12, she found a hole. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think that's a very coming of age thing for a woman, Tom. That's not exceptional.
I didn't say it was. It's just helping to paint a picture.
Mhm.
So she believed that souls were, not she, he, Mark, believed that souls were predestined to go to either heaven or hell before the person was even born. Now, she, on the other hand, believed that hearts of the faithful could gain passage to heaven and repent against their original and own sins. Myself and several other listeners believe that the soul can gain passage to heaven by making weekly trips to Applebee's, Outback, or Chili. These views are all equally contentious.
Or is this just the shotgun blast of fishing for sponsors?
Well, you know what, Tom?
We've got 6.
I think you have to. There's a certain amount of, what in the Catholic Church there's self-flagellation, right? Where you have to
Yeah.
pay penance. And when you're sitting alone at that Applebee's bar,
Whipping
7
yourself.
watered-down beers deep, you're working on your 8th one because it's twofer. You have to finish the 8th.
Right.
I think you might find the light of God.
You could.
Because
Let me tell you
Parking
something. No joking. The one time Gabriella left her phone somewhere, and I thought she had it on her, and we were going to meet up, she was able to find me. I was at an Applebee's. It's a real story.
finding God.
I was finding a veteran.
I think that I might have found God at a Famous Dave's because I think I had a minor heart attack because I was sweating a lot. I ate too much meat, and I got meat goggles.
That was a good time at Famous Dave's.
Yeah.
Well, you eat out of the garbage there.
Well,
That's
yeah,
what they do.
that's
They don't
one of
actually
the
serve food. You sit at a table.
Tom, people do not know how to eat meat off the bone. All the good parts they throw away. So how can you blame me?
I didn't blame
People
you.
are
I
too
was
used
with you.
to chicken nuggets where there is no bone.
You've been
The
getting raw
soul.
chicken nuggets.
You're a degenerate meat eater.
Carnivore.
I like the soul of the bone.
I like the bones too. I like to eat meat as well. There's nothing wrong with eating meat, but you're somehow worse. Okay. Let's continue.
This is my science.
No one cares
Continue,
about
Tom.
us eating at Applebee's. That's not what the show's about. It's educational.
Yeah.
This is also around the time when Mary started to get the idea of prayerful healing. She starts thinking about this like, oh, shit, my views, they can make shit better. You see, Mary had started to become ill regularly. She felt weak most days, and when she didn't, she chalked it up to praying properly. Would you believe that shit?
Oh.
So she claimed to pray a fever away one time and was sold on the spiritual powers of prayer ever since. This is the foundation of her life's work, which of course we'll cover because this is the show.
Damn it.
Cody, I noticed that you're bleeding profusely. My thoughts and prayers. I will not call 911.
I think I'm clotting.
You're definitely clotting at something. In 1836, at the age of 15 years old, Daddy Mark decided to take the family to a new place and get out of Bow and move to Sanbornton Bridge, New Hampshire.
Okay.
Most of her older siblings had moved out by then, and there was only 3 left, and that wasn't enough to run a farm. So Sanbornton seemed like a good place to go. There was action there. There was a church for Mark to socialize at and make some good friends. Mary went to the local schoolhouse where she was, for lack of a better term, a total prick.
So how close is this to the Connecticut River? Because that's what separates New Hampshire and Vermont.
I don't know, Travis. Actually, I don't look at geography. This isn't a geography podcast, and I think that a geography podcast is actually doomed to fail because that is a visual medium.
Well, I'm just wondering because if they were close enough, then they could have been in Vermont. They could have been eating Ben and Jerry's. That's why they would have moved there.
How many Coors Light seltzers did you have tonight?
It's a lot,
A couple
seems
of
like.
them. I mean, Jesus is in me right now. Jesus is inside.
Jesus is everywhere.
He's everywhere all at once. All my holes are filled.
Okay, let me just write this in the notes. Jesus is in Travis. Okay. So she openly stated that she was better than other kids and refused to play games and participate in class activities and pretended to be sick all the fucking time.
Oh.
Now, we all went to school with some creep like this. They're baloney people.
They're usually in the drama club.
There was this
Or
one
GSA.
kid. Zwick, get your beeper out. There's this one kid we went to school with, and he, I think we mentioned him several hundred times on the podcast.
This is a character on the show at this point.
We should just start giving him an alias to spare the audience the beeps.
Yeah.
Nah, the beeps are fun.
I think Tom said James Yankee once.
James Yankee.
If I did, then I thank myself. And if not, Cody Touche.
No, that was you.
Now, like I said, baloney people. Everyone went to school with baloney people. Hey, people grow out of being baloney people. We might have some lit people who used to be baloney people. Mary never grew out of being a baloney person. She would fake sick all the time and then pray herself healthy. And some of the smoother brains in class would clap and sing. They go, yeah, he did. She did have one event up her sleeve that was witnessed by many people. Even though they knew she was full of baloney, she still always referred to this. Now, one day, a crazy man had escaped from a holding cell that was nearby the school she was going to.
No!
Yeah, so this madman waved a club around saying crazy shit. Probably like, we're going to return the Republic. We'll never be perfect, but my God, we're going to keep babies alive and harvest their organs.
Okay.
The crazed man was in the schoolyard, and while all the kids ran away, Mary went right up to this Alex Jones-looking man and took him by the hand, said something softly into his ear. The man dropped his stick, and the same smooth brains that were hollering and clappering, they did it twice as much. They were like, oh my God, he didn't even hurt me. Oh my God.
So I'm getting a picture right now of this woman being like, everyone's seen the movie There'll Be Blood.
Yeah.
It's like a lady version of Paul Dano's character. It's like a little weenie person.
I hadn't thought about this movie while I was doing the script, but yeah, that does make sense.
Interesting.
You can't trust him, and
Yeah.
he speaks the word of God, which you have to take his word, so that's no good. So anyway, no one knows what she said to the man, but my bet is that she told the poor bastard that she'd give him some Bitcoin if she dropped the stick.
Yeah.
No, back then it was birch coin, Tom.
Birch coin.
It was literally a coin made out of birch wood.
This will go up in value eventually.
Yeah, I promise this is going to work. Keep doing it.
One day there's not going to be any more birch trees because the immigrants keep coming into the country from Ireland and taking all the birch.
The birch demand's going up. Now, her brother, Albert, was a big influence on her life. He was a prominent lawyer. Like I said, all the siblings were older. She was the youngest one, and he tutored her on Hebrew and Latin. You could say he's a nice guy. But what happens to Albert? He dies because it's the 1800s, and when it's the 1800s, it's like a 1 in 2. You're going to die, and it might be young. So, of course, Mary's upset. This was the first major loss in her life. But she found a new man. In George Washington Glover, her first husband. Not her first husband. That'll be later, too.
Wait, but why would she be upset when this man dies? Because now he's all, like, fucking chilling in heaven with his, like, I don't know, sexual boners.
Just missing
cats.
them. Dude, when my friends ignore my phone calls and go to the bar without me, it's not that I'm, like, upset that I'm left out. I'm upset that I miss them. I'm just like, when you gotta go on this show?
Oh, but like Tom wants mojitos.
Yeah, Tom's annoying. Let's not invite him, they say.
Tom always gets too many mojitos and then pulls his pants down in the bar.
I just wanted everyone to know that's never happened.
That's happened.
Everyone wants me there.
mojitos.
No, everyone, that's happened. That's happened, everyone.
Wow.
I've seen your dick,
well,
Tom.
I try to have fun, and then you make it all serious.
Tom. Well, this is a come to Jesus moment, come to Jesus moment. I've seen your dick when you're too drunk.
Some people like it, okay? A lot of people got new phone numbers after that night. Okay. So now Albert's dead, but she finds her new man, George Washington Glover, her first husband. He was friends with one of Mary's older brothers, and in the 1840s they began to date, and they married in December 10th, 1943. The newlyweds moved down to Charleston, South Carolina. Shout out to Joe. Now, George owned some property down there. This was the first time that Mary had seen slavery.
Well, right.
She
Also,
felt
New
that.
Hampshire was an anti-slave state before the Revolution.
That's what I'm saying. They were against it, and the only living on Twitter is equivalent to living in New Hampshire, because you're in the country in which a lot of bad things are happening and people don't understand them, and the debate is going around the dinner table every night after the hell talk, and you got nothing to do with it.
So Mary moves down there, and is she like, wait, there's people that can do my nails for me? Wonderful!
Okay. So here's Mary at a younger age being rather progressive. She sees these people, and she goes, hey, husband, you didn't tell me you had slaves.
All right.
Okay?
Applause for Mary.
So she's real mad. Fairly fine. Who cares? So she's like, you own somebody? She most likely thought that George was out of his mind because they met up there. She's like, how do you not think like I do? Which is a big problem. You got to think like you do. George lied to his wife and said that he wasn't even legally allowed to let his slaves go, which was not true at all, but he was running a business, and he didn't want his woman to tell him how to run his business. Now, Mary was a wet blanket, but she was no idiot. So she was like, husband, I know that's not the case. Either way, George got a big order from a building supplier for a church down in Haiti, and the supplies were meant to ship out from North Carolina. And this was happening during the conversation. This is like, hey, you should get rid of your slaves. Hold on, I'm doing business, woman. Shortly
Some
after,
Haitians want something. These Haitian guys are calling me on the phone.
Right. Don't you want me to give them a church? She's like, I don't know. I'm kind of fucking torn. Okay. So the supplies were meant to ship from North Carolina. Shortly into his stay in North Carolina, George got the yellow fever and died.
Oh.
Now,
Fuck George.
without a doubt, his soul was immediately in hell with the fastest trip. See you in hell, my friend. Shout out to Steve Grimmett. You're in hell now, George.
Yeah, I imagine his soul probably turned into one of those scary little centipedes. And then, the ones that go down the drain real quick.
Oh, the silverfish.
Silverfish. It's probably just turned, he anamorphed into a silverfish.
What a horrible thing to anamorph into.
Right?
And then from there, there's no plumbing. So he just went into I don't know, like a dirt hole that someone had made.
Yeah.
That's how
the-
hell works.
Yeah, the outhouse pit.
Yeah.
Mary went back up north as her dying husband's last request. He did shoot off another request earlier as Mary found herself pregnante.
Ooh.
Oh.
Woe is her. Come on, guys. Whoa.
Whoa.
Wait, but wouldn't she want to get all stuffed full of cum and have babies?
Well, this is the wrong time to do it because daddy's not here. This is
Yeah,
you can't have a nuclear family if dad's dead before the baby's even born.
That's true. Maybe she could just refund the cum.
No, sir, that would be bad.
No,
Fuck
you
said we
just
weren't
keep the
talking about
receipt.
cum this episode.
Yeah, I did say that before. Shut up, Travis.
No,
So
we're
now
talking about cum. All right, Tom, keep going. I'm going to keep talking about cum later. I'll figure it into your story.
Fine, find a place to get the white. Now, her financial situation is shot. She's a woman, and she has to move in with her parents, which is fine. But it's a dismal view from here. It's very rare that people are widowed so young. Usually, they're married into someone for a little bit. It's like they were only married like a couple months. Her son's named George Washington Glover Jr. After the daddy. He was born September 12th, 1884. Now, she was in such a bad way after having baby George that the family sent the baby to live with a friend. Now, she recovered with some help over the next 4 or 5 years and began writing columns for local papers. She published a small, semi-autobiographical account of her husband's death and put it out in some New Hampshire paper. Everyone was indifferent to it. Just as she was getting on her feet, her mother died. Oh, big old hit.
Oh, no.
Mary's life is bad.
Mm.
Although she was upset, she managed to get herself a new fiancé, John Bartlett, a childhood friend. But within 3 weeks of their engagement, he died too.
Oh, man.
Now-
Fucking John's just trying to get in there.
Mary she's surrounded by death. A lot of people were at the time. So
Yeah.
suck it up a little bit,
Yeah,
It's just the Reaper.
I don't care about COVID. Go outside and drink the death in with the Ferris wheels.
Well, I'm just saying we all had to use AOL Instant Messenger. That was a joint societal thing that we had to use. It wasn't great,
Right. It was a choice we
Nope.
made.
but yeah, it was something that we had. We were born into ASL, you know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh. So there she is, with her father who couldn't shut up about Satan, her son who was a terrible conversationalist as he was 5, and herself in a cabin.
Wow.
Not a good
Brady Bunch.
Yes, it is a Brady Bunch of misery. Very dimly lit. Now, Mark decided that he needed to let one loose, so he married a young lady who was
Let one
well-to-do.
loose?
Her name was Elizabeth Patterson Duncan. Now, this resulted in the family looking for a new place for Mary to live.
Do you think Mark was dunking in?
Mark was Duncan and Duncan. He was running on Duncan, i.e. sperm push-ups.
Wow.
Sperm.
Recoil.
Mm-hmm. The family they planned to move Mary in with her sister Abigail, and they sent little George to go live with his old babysitter. See, the thing is back then at this time, a widowed single mother had basically no rights over what happened with the kid. So she was upset. I would be upset. I would be upset if I wasn't allowed to take my child to Chuck E. Cheese, and I had to watch someone else bring it to Chuck E. Cheese.
Just stand in the window, just like watching.
Yeah, because you know,
get that, play that skeet ball better, boy, little Johnny.
right? But you know, deep down in your heart, that Jebediah and Isabella, even though that's not the biological parents, they can provide more fun quarters for your child to be normal. And if you brought him there, he's eating pizza crust and he gets 1 coin, and you're dying for the next week out there panhandling in a town with 7 people. It's like, Mary, you already been here. It's a rough world out there, I swear. So anyway, Mary's really upset, and she moves in with Abigail, and she begins to write for a newspaper called the Patriot. Not the movie, the newspaper.
Yeah, so wait, Mel Gibson, no. He's still in it, in the paper, right?
He's the
Chief editor?
Chief editor, yes.
Okay.
Now, she wrote about the nation's hottest topic, slavery. But by all accounts, this was very progressive, because it was kind of like, oh, a woman with opinion? What?
It's
What?
paradoxical.
Why you did it? So, like, she's writing about that, and she was, to be fair, she was like, I don't want to see people owned by people. I think we can all kind of agree with that. I say kind of because we're all sexual deviants in one way or another.
Yeah.
Like part-time ownership. You know what I'm talking about.
Well, ownership in the bedroom is different.
Then she meets with her next husband, Daniel Patterson, who was related to her stepmother, kind of kinky. They met because she had a gnarly toothache and wasn't able to pray the pain away. And Daniel was a dentist, and even better, a homeopathic doctor.
Wait, so, all right. If she believed in this, like, prayer, you just can pray these, like, ailments away.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's just, like, believe that that's true. So she prays for her toothache to go away. And in her world, God is just like, nah. You know what? Nah. That sucks in your mouth. Nah.
I know it's not in the dictionary, but I'm pretty sure this is in the Bible. The word yain't. So it's just like, you ain't praying enough.
So you can't move your mouth to get that prayer-gasms out.
Right.
Because you got a sore tooth.
Lady, you're upsetting me.
You ain't Peter.
You ain't doing enough. So she's like, all right, fine. I'll go find a scientist who take my teeth out. Right. So now she's with the homeopathic doctor. They began writing wet letters to each other and somewhat dating. Now, the problem with them dating was that he was a Baptist.
Ooh.
She would have to convert from being a Protestant Congregationalist to Baptist, and thought that was kind of scary. I don't want to do that. That's scary stuff.
You know what? I've had the opportunity to sit up on the dunk tank at one of those carnivals.
Right.
Scary. The anticipation is killer.
Right. But
right? Like
on those hot summer days when it's just as wet outside, who gives a shit?
Right. So she's up there. She's like, do I really want to be dunked? Do I really want to be slam dunked by this guy?
So now we have this woman who she's like a couple weeks into thinking about this. She's like, I don't know if I can marry this guy. He's a Baptist. Scary. Gotcha. Very scary
Scandal.
Baptist. So she goes to her father, who's the top Congregationalist in town. She's just like, Dad, I got this thing. I like this guy. I want to marry him. He's a Baptist. What do you think? He's just like, change your fucking religion and get out of my house. For fuck's sake, it's not that important. Get the fuck out of here.
You're a woman. Who cares what you do with your life?
Exactly. You're not going to heaven anyway. That's a gay club.
I mean, come on. A God's God. Whatever these people like to get. The Baptists like to get a little bit more wet than the Congregationalists who like to stay very dry.
They all party different.
Ooh.
And I'm at all of them. You know, and I'm hopping around. So she went along with it. Also, she wanted to gain custody of her son again. She was like, oh, yeah, this would be a good opportunity for me to legally gain the custody of my son because, they're out there.
Yeah, I just imagine little George Washington is just in Chuck E. Cheese this entire time. Just having a great time, and then His mom shows up. He's like, all right, little George Washington, time to come back home and milk cows and punch horses in the mouth.
She is biting her nails in a 1992 Toyota Corolla that she has stolen. And she's, well, I'm going to get you back, baby. Don't worry. And George is like, I'd rather not see my mom again. So Daniel, her future husband's like, oh, yeah, you know what? When we get married, I'm going to help you get your son back. And on top of that, I'm going to be his legal guardian, too. It's going to be awesome.
Sweet.
We got this guy covered. So as soon as they get married, Daniel pulled a parental sneak attack and refused to have anything to do with the poor kid. Now, Daniel, just thrown out there, he's a real jerk.
What a dick.
He traveled for work a lot. So Mary was basically in this house by herself, and without her shitty husband or without her regular son. Mary was alone during this time. Guys, we can feel bad for who we're talking about at this moment in history. Let's move along past this moment in history.
Well, the only thing you can't feel bad for is little George Washington, who is hanging out Chuck E. Cheese more.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to see you, Mom. I don't want to see you anymore.
He's like spitting, trying to like scrub like the black light stamp off of his wrist so he doesn't have to go home with his own mom.
God damn it. So they were kind of reunited when the couple moved to a house closer to where George was living, and George would come over and have lunch and do math with his mom, but Daniel, he was like, nah, I don't want this. You're sick in your head, woman. Mary, I married you, and you're terrible. So what seemed to be from the public eye that Daniel had a ever-growing piece of rebar in his asshole, making him quite cranky. Turns out that Mary was also not well in her head. There are public accounts about both of these things. We're going to have to assume that this was not a good couple, firstly. And secondly, Mary's probably crazy. We'll find out later that there's some more crazy.
So Mary's always crazy.
I don't know. They gave birth to Jesus.
So this is a real problem with all of history up until the late 20th century, was that Dr. Phil didn't exist.
Right.
Okay.
So, like, up until the late 20th century, when Dr. Phil exists in his glistening head, there were a lot of relationships that did not work out. All right.
Okay.
Good point. So he banned the son from coming to the house anymore. After banning George, Mary, she remained bedridden for quite some time. It didn't help that the family that was taking care of George moved to Minnesota and with him in tow. So now this erased any hope of them reuniting. On top of that, the foster family told the kid that she had died.
Oh.
So
yeah, why not?
Yeah, it's a sad story. Yeah, it's just like, don't look for your mom. She's dead. Sad story. Everything's sad. Anyway, Daniel's dentistry business went south for some reason, and they couldn't pay their mortgage.
Everyone lost their teeth, and they had nothing to work on.
Well, yeah, because it's 1850s dentistry. Not exactly that fine.
Yeah, supply and demand was an actual thing a dentist needs to worry about back then.
Right. So they had to leave their home, and Daniel got into a fist fight with one of his neighbors over some wood as they were leaving town. Nobody likes Daniel. Shut up, Daniel. That's on his gravestone.
Shut up, Daniel. Rest in peace.
Civil War. That happened. They did it. And somehow during this time, Daniel became friends with the governor of New Hampshire. Now, the governor tasked Daniel to take some funds that they had raised to Northern sympathizers in the South. So he leaves home on a dangerous mission and heads down to give some money to people. And Daniel, he's a dope. This is a fairly dangerous task, as I said, but he didn't really think it was. So as he's walking down, he's passing D.C., and he runs into the Battle of Bull Run as it's taking place. Real history.
Ooh.
So Daniel,
that's a bad one.
Yeah, so Daniel decides to get real close and take a look at the action, and guess what? There he was, captured by a bunch of Confederate troops and put in a Southern prison. All he had to do was walk a few meters the other way and get the money to where it belonged, but the money's gone, and now Daniel's an idiot.
Was Bull Run one of those picnic battles, Travis?
For the North, it was. So, so Bull Run, the North thought like, oh, we're just going to go in there and just fucking kill everyone. It's going to be great. So, like, literally the president and all of these, like, Northerners just, like, showed up and they're like, oh, well, tea time, let's watch. And then everything got bloody and shitty. And they're like, oh, no, back up.
Yeah,
So
they
this
showed up like it was
dope-
going to be like an air show or something.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
This dope is like, oh, let me get closer to Shamu. Let me see it jump farther.
Well, this probably
And Shamu
was.
fucking fucked him. Shamu pulled out its whale orca penis of war and fucked him.
And put him into fuck jail.
Yeah.
Now, some say that Mary heard the news and started writing letters to people in an attempt to get her husband released. Now, in my research, I emphasizing kind of, I gathered that she was pretty excited that he was scooped, as the two of them had nothing in common. And he also was like, can't have son. So that's bad. Then Mary heard that her son was off fighting in the Union, and Mary felt the burn. She felt it. She was like, now my son is in Iraq, which is down south now. I can't do anything. I'm an Italian woman, and I can't help my son. I don't know where I got that from. I'm on Long Island too much.
Yeah.
Now her son is putting life on the line like an essential worker, and her husband is trapped in the enemy line like a grounded preteen. Now she wants to do something, but she's sick in bed still. Remember how I said she's always bedridden? Oh, sick Mary. So she opens up her Bible and begins to look for an answer. Her reflections on the good book during this time also made her reflect on her life events, such as the voices she heard and her healing herself from that fever that probably didn't happen.
But not the toothache and not the fact that she's still in bed dying.
We all pick our battles.
Yeah.
Apparently God does too.
Yeah. So day after day.
God's like, oh, sorry, Mary. I'm like, oh, just open up the Google Calendar here. I'm all a little bit booked up. Keep that tooth fucking rotting out your head, whatever. It's good.
Toothache might be a pre-existing condition.
Yeah, not covered.
Right. So day after day, she's reading this book, and she felt good enough to walk. She's just like, oh, shit, I feel like I can go outside and start living. Now, before Daniel's capture, he began correspondence with a mesmerist and homeopathic doctor named Dr. Phineas Parkhurst Quimby.
I was to say, that is the most 1800s science-y man name you could ever say. Please repeat it.
Oh, it's Phineas Parkhurst Quimby.
I love it.
Right, Cody?
Yeah. I was going to say, it sounds like a Simpsons character, but there's actually Mayor Quimby, who is the Simpsons character.
Right. We all know that name. So Daniel had asked about making the trip from where he was practicing in Portland, Maine to New Hampshire to deal with Mary. Quimby was like, no. So a few months later, after Daniel's capture in 1862, Mary, at age 41, had prayed herself well enough to make the trip with the help of one of her older brothers. All the way up to Portland, Maine to go see Quimbus. She met up with Quimby, and he started rattling off his ideas. And she liked it. His version of Jesus was a metaphysical scientist, and the Bible acts as a biography of a medical journal, but no one ever bothered to write down the actual scientific methods.
Okay, so we all know that Jesus, the imagery that they use for Jesus is very hot, right? He's always like this guy.
He's got abs.
He's got abs. He's got like some like long hair, which I guess is kind of like rebellious, right? Because
it's pretty cool.
Everyone was, he's a cool looking dude. So I'm imagining her take that Quimby is doing is the same exact Jesus, but he's wearing a lab coat and nothing else, and it's open.
I
And he's like,
like
come
it.
to me.
Yeah, he's just like hanging dong.
Yeah.
What's up, dude? Jesus.
Like this is like the Jesus that she's seeing is who's that guy? Danny. Who's the porn star? Danny
D. You know, don't
Danny
play
D.
stupid.
He's Danny D. This is
Don't
Danny
play
D with
stupid.
long hair, wearing a lab coat, about to do a science experiment.
Right. So this is how she's painting. Quimby's painting an image of Jesus to Mary. Danny D. I think we've brought up Danny D and Jesus at the same time too many times. We obviously have some problems on the show that we're working out together.
I wouldn't call that problems. I call it revelations.
Okay, fair
Character.
enough. So her treatment went like this. Quimby told her to take count of all the times that someone said that she was sick. Doctors, families, ugly teenagers. And he told her to erase all those thoughts from her mind. He then washed his hands and started vigorously massaging her temples and repeating the same general thing. You're not sick, you're fine, your family's dumb. That's what he kept doing. And voila, she was healed. This is science back in the time, people. The woman had been in bed for months and months and months on a clip. She's not cured. She's fine. Doesn't need a bed
Great.
anymore.
Good.
She's going to go run a marathon.
All right. Well, okay. That sounds like it works, right?
It works just fine. So Mary, being the type of person she is, she just tries to pick a fight anyway. She's just like, oh, thanks so much for healing me. She kept chatting with Quimby, and while in town, I guess they were getting lunch and shit together. Quimby didn't have that many patients at the time. He was like, he had made a name for himself, and then the buzz had died down by this point.
So he's in Portland, Maine, right? So I imagine his patients were probably, it was like an empty room with a bunch of lobsters, right? Like, and he's like, oh, my patients.
Yeah, pretty much. My
Like
patients.
crawling around on the floor, right?
Yeah, I test my patients with butter.
Yeah.
Yep.
Where the hell was I?
Shout out
So-
Portland, Maine, dog.
Shout out to them. So Mary, like I said, keeps chatting with Quimby and taking lunch with him, and she starts to realize something. He's no Christian. He's into the power of suggestion. This dude was swimming in pussy, and he was just great at suggestions. I mean, what is a sexual advance? It's just a suggestion. That's all he had going for him. This alarmed Mary because she was like, but what about God? And he was like, well, the God thing is just something you're into, so I just made it work for you.
Right. Thus, the Danny D analogy works perfectly.
Right. It works. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I don't mean to shit on you
All
over and over again. So as I mentioned before, he was a mesmerist. And those guys were basically the precursors to magic studs like Chris Angel, David Copperfield. They're dong rippers. You know, they're just out there. They're having sex
Gotcha.
with the dumbest ladies in town.
So I think one of the biggest tricks that those guys do is probably like when they actually hook up with a chick, right? They like put the condom on and they're like, whoosh, it's gone.
It's gone.
It's like, oh, I thought
Sleight
you
of
were
hand.
wearing condom.
I think
Oh,
it's
well, whoosh.
an amazing trick is that they what they really do, what's amazing is that they have all kinds of kids all over the place. They're never pulling out, right? And then as soon
Yeah.
as they go to the doctor's office to do the DNA test for the paternity thing, swap out, got fresh DNA.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Done it.
Little
You-
blood packet in your arm.
Yeah.
Or you know, like how you like kind of like cheat on like a fucking like piss test with like, you know, smuggling in like clean pee from like your straight edge friend. Like he like just deposits like soy sauce and mulch into the cup, and like the paternity test is like nothing in common with what was in the cup in that kid.
It
Yeah.
looks like you are a aged edamame nut that has been darkened in Japan.
This
You are not
child
the father.
this child is dead. Okay, at any rate, guys. Let's move along here. I had too much to drink before we started the show again. I am having a problem. This isn't a sad cry. This is a comedy show that does history, or vice versa.
Something.
But Mary, she's like, oh, no, you're not just like David Copperfield or Chris Angel. It's like, I don't take suggestions. I live by two things, and that's science and Christianity. And since medical science is non-existent, that was Christian-ass science. So listen up. All your knowledge of ideas and health and shit like that, you've been doing it, but it's really God doing it. And Quimby's like, actually, that's not a bad idea. I could use a broader audience base. So I will adopt this. So,
I mean,
you got,
I get it.
right.
Do you?
Well, think of it like this. He is healing this woman, according to her own words. And then when he says how he does it, she goes, nah, it wasn't like that. 'Cause genius. And she is telling him how he did it. So it's got to be a little
Right, and
insulting.
he's just like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, but he's like got to be kind of insulted. He's just like, look, it's crazy what the brain could do, the power of suggestion. And she's just like, but God, Dad. And now you have a guy who's pretty insulted, but then he takes a step back. He's just like, wait, I'll go along with it. Like I mentioned, people love God. So let's get onto this. So basically, Mary hopped on as this guy's manager in a way.
What?
She made him start documenting his theories and make sure that everything could be related to Jesus in one way or another. I believe that Quimby saw this as nothing more than a way to sell medical books and increase the amount of patients. This is the beginnings of Christian Science.
I know it's passe, but much like the beginnings of Papa John, where he would make pizza and tell you this is the best pizza. It's got better ingredients.
Yeah.
Right.
Right?
Okay.
Power of suggestion, because it's not, is trash. But like eventually it caught on, and a lot of people are like, Oh, well, obviously it's got bitter and crazy Jesus in it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you say something
Cheese is
enough,
an
it
ingredient.
becomes true. I suppose that's a good point, Travis. Papa John's. So Mary returns home and annoys the shit out of her family, telling about the miracle cure that was going on. And then people started asking questions like, isn't he just a mesmerist? Someone told me that he wasn't a doctor. Is that true? I haven't seen him in a church. Doesn't he work at Tropical Smoothies on the weekend? Are you really sick at all? Mary would get super pissed off and viciously defend Quimby's honor and her own, for that matter. And she would double down on his religious views, saying he's been a man of God forever. I didn't just instill that on him. I assure you, he loves God. That's all we talked about, that and healing.
Ah.
And everyone's like, okay, Mary.
Dude, you ever seen Jesus' abs, dude? How can you not love this guy?
Right, well,
fish
they're
into
talking about
wine.
Quimby. You know, Quimby, like who I said, is not into God. She's saying that he loves God more than anything.
Yeah, I know, and I'm saying that, like, how could Quimby not like God?
Right, he's a good guy. So she began writing to newspapers in Maine and New Hampshire, praising Quimby for his spiritual healing. This didn't go over well. Most people saw Quimby as a fraud. As history can show, he was a fraud.
Right, this is very much like a person that we should roast in the future, John Smith.
Well,
Joseph Smith.
yeah, this is funny because I kept making this comparison between her and Joseph Smith. Mary Baker and Joseph Smith were the same people, except
Right.
I don't know, for some reason people still view her today as a feminist icon.
Huh.
Well, that's because she had one of those, was it called a vulva?
Vagina? Yeah.
Right, she was a woman. So,
Yeah.
to continue, she began writing. Oh, I read that bit. All right. Finally, after months of annoyance, Mary's sister Abigail gave in and made the trek to Quimby's place. Why? I have no idea. There's no record for her illness, but she made an appointment anyway with Quimby. And she left that appointment very unsatisfied. To her, it was obvious that Quimby was just a charlatan and walked out of the session just a few minutes in.
Oh.
She did refrain from telling Mary this because Mary seemed to be a lot better and happy. She wasn't in bed all day. All right, Mary, do your thing, but that guy was full of shit.
Is there any, like, possibility this is just, like, a placebo effect before people knew what it was?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. In fact, it was that. Like, for all cases across the board can be chalked up to that.
It just seems like for whatever reason, when God's involved, the placebo effect gets like quadruple like efficiency.
Yeah, because
Or
people believe it even more.
efficacy.
Because it's one thing that
Yeah.
goes, this is a pill that will save you, but this is a pill that will save you because God said it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll save your, gastrointestinal tract and your mortal soul.
Right. Like, when like Morpheus was like, here's the red pill, here's the blue pill, they're both placebos because Morpheus is God.
Right. He's
Sure.
God, and his glasses didn't have arms on them, which I thought was
there's
really
no,
weird.
There's no temples. on
Or
those
temples.
glasses.
I always called them arms, like they're hugging your face.
Oh, I'm gonna do that.
that's
I actually
cute.
like
I
that.
like that.
now.
Oh, I'm getting hugged all the time.
They're both touching their glasses, everyone, and I'm reaching for glasses that I don't need. So, Mary then spent all of her free time, because she had all this energy, she spends all of her free time trying to get her husband free, because she's like, I gotta do something with this energy. So this woman literally knows nothing about how it works. If you are a prisoner of war, there is no letter that you can write if your husband isn't worth anything to free him. She even went down to D.C. to deliver a letter to Abraham Lincoln, a man who could also do nothing in regards to releasing her husband. Thank God someone stepped in her way and she never actually got to deliver that letter, and she went back to her home all sad and shit. But good news, Daniel had broken out of the Richmond Confederate prison and made his way home.
Wow.
Wait, is that good news? Because didn't she hate this guy?
Well, that's what I was going to get to. Upon reuniting, they both remembered that they didn't like each other at all, and Mary was more annoying than ever. So Daniel was like, hey, nice to see you. Gonna go set up a new shop in Massachusetts. You stay here for a few months.
Oh, that Confederate prison? Not so bad. You guys want me back?
Yeah. That was like Futurama Professor Farnsworth. Like, good news.
Yep. It is that. So Mary, she did eventually move down to Massachusetts where her husband was working, but she spent a few months all alone. She was sad. She was like feeling bad again. And the general illness that she had experienced before, it started haunting her. So on February 3rd, 1866, Mary made things even worse. She wasn't paying attention. She was probably flipping through her Instagram feed when she fell on some ice walking and made a nasty spill, resulting into some internal bleeding. Shout out to Frank Rini.
Whoa.
Oh,
Now-
some boo-boo. You made boo-boo on ice. She fucking home alone, dude.
She home alone
She fucking
so hard.
home alone hard.
She was basically Joe Pesci, and Pesci is fish in Portuguese, so that's Jesus
is.
fish. So we can go make that full circle. Congratulations, Mary. You're an embarrassment.
Legs over the head fall. Iron
Right.
falls on her head.
So Mary was taken to a friend's house where a doctor showed up and gave her lots of morphine. Very nice. After a few
Yes.
weeks, Mary started to feel okay again, and she claimed that her recovery was entirely due to her praying and Jesus, the scientist who was working at NASA, who took time off to heal her. Meanwhile, the doctor that had saw her recovery chances as pretty high and helped her get there, he was completely fucking ignored, and that's how Christian Science was born.
Miracles.
Out of morphine dreams.
Yep.
That's how that works.
Now, more than ever, communication with God was at an all-time high, and communication with her husband, Daniel, was at an all-time low. So Daniel was like, I'm going to go find a new mouth to fuck using my office, which he did with a
Yeah.
married woman.
Nice.
That's what offices
Nice.
are for.
So now Daniel runs off with this new lady who happened to be married. It didn't last long, though, because the woman started feeling bad and went to Mary herself to ask for forgiveness.
Did they scissor?
Well, no, they didn't. Mary actually forgave her, and on top of that, she even helped patch things up with her husband. So now she was able to restore someone else's relationship. What a lady! Now, when Daniel comes back and asks
So
him
no,
for
wait,
forgiveness,
Tom. So
oh!
she did scissor. She did scissor.
She probably
in
did.
front of the husband and be
Tribadism.
like, look at what's going on, dude. Jesus is inside of me. I'm on opium. I'm
Nothing's
morphine.
inside of anything when you're scissoring.
Yeah, that's the
There's a
problem I
ghost-
have with
it's
it.
a
As a man, I can't
double-headed-
connect with that.
No, it's a double-headed dildo of Jesus.
Oh, okay. Once upon the cross, they say.
Yeah, the spear of destiny.
Right. So now Mary patches this woman up with her husband again. And when Daniel comes back, he's like, can you forgive me too, dear? I am sorry I ran away with that whore. Now, she goes, too bad, Daniel. I don't even like you that much. So I'm not going to try to make this work. That woman was nice. You're mean. Now,
Okay.
they formally divorced years later. He died alone, broke, and with perfect teeth. Her father then died in 1866, and she was sad. Quimby also died in 1866, which left all the medicine findings that he had made, all of his writings, that was wide open because he didn't have a single follower outside of her. Everyone else was just people passing by, going, howdy do, Mr. Quimby, please don't talk to me.
So is she like a morphine addict right now?
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit. But, you know
Okay.
what? We don't need to wait. She becomes a morphine addict over her life, but she accomplishes a lot for a morphine addict. I'll give her that.
Okay, so she's like a Siegfried and Freud type of character.
Yeah, as Mike
Who was
would
also
say, she wanted to have
addicted to
sex
morphine.
with a mom or something.
Yeah.
Right. So she's able to borrow his ideas and start implementing them in her own way. So Mary moves back to her childhood home after some wandering and grieving. Mary was now having somewhat of a midlife crisis. She hadn't done much with her life. Not that women were expected to at this time period, but she wanted to do something with her eccentricity. She felt that she was important. Remember how I said she was a prick in school?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she's a prick now, too. She still feels like she's better than people, and she needs to show off. She's like, I need to achieve something. So she began to think about this, all of her life principles. Her older brother, George, was in town, and she's like, oh, my brother, George, so nice to see you. And he's like, I'm blind because I'm ill. And Mary's like, that's not good. I will help you with my spiritual healing. And when she
Wait, hold on,
offered these
Tom.
services, let me finish, Travis. When she
on a
offered
roll.
these spiritual healings, George said, nah, I'm good with your voodoo dog shit. And he died 5 days later.
So wait, Tom, imagine if this person had social media. Good God. We all have an aunt like this person. Like some aunt or an uncle or something, and
Right.
they post way too much political or like, I'm the best person. Like, oh, check out me, I caught this fish. And then the next day I caught another fish, even though that was 3 months ago.
Right. Well, back then it used to be if you talked about God all the time, the first thing you would want to do if there was no God is kill yourself. It's the same way people on social media, the people who are always like posting these things about making progress in life and looking on the bright side of things. If those people are ready to kill themselves, for some reason they're doing this and this empty gesture to absolutely no one.
Yeah, it's a digital zombie,
and it is. I am saddened by it.
Yeah,
because I'm not the monster I make myself out to be on the show. I'm actually a nice man, unlike her second husband, Daniel.
Daniel was a penis boy.
Right. I'm a nice man, and I see these things, and I go, please don't post these things anymore. Go outside. Get some fresh air. Is that too much? Was that too deep, Zwick? You can cut that out if you want, but I say leave it.
Nah. Yeah.
I think that is a social commentary. Cody, what do you think about that? You live in Hawaii where people make their dreams come true every day, but you're inside eating taquitos.
This is fucking COVID.
Small tacos.
COVID is a fucking dream hamperer. Fuck this.
All right. Well, maybe you should go help those ladies with their dreams.
Nah.
All right. So Mary, she's upset because her brother George would rather die than even try the spiritual healing for free because it's dog shit. It's stupid. But she did perform one miracle healing, and that was on her niece. Now, her niece had some kind of abscess and was running a fever. Yeah. And after a prayer session, the niece felt good enough to have some ramen noodles with the family, and thus a fucking miracle. Surprise enough, that was enough to get her a few followers. Believe it or not, that's all it took back then. So she embraces these followers, taking note that Quimby never actually gathered followers to spread his word. She's just like, that's what Quimby did wrong. I'm not going to do that wrong. I'm going to take his message to the next level. I might not give him credit, but I'm going to take his spirit on with me and heal people. Okay?
So she's preventing his spirit to go to heaven to benefit her.
Right.
She's like, come here, and like ropes it, like lassos it while it's trying to get up to heaven.
All your ideas belong to me. So she starts She starts her quote. She starts her church. It's forming now. Now, one follow of hers was a guy named Asa Gilbert Eddy. So that's where that name comes from. That's why it's kind of interchangeable. It doesn't matter.
Oh, Eddy got in it?
Eddie got in it. So this is the next husband. They married in 1877. Now, Mary knew that she needed some merch. Shout out to roastmortemcast.com. She wanted to publish her teachings in a manuscript to help legitimize her cause in the public eye. Now, in 1872, she started writing the book, Science and Health with Key to Scriptures. It was ready to publish by 1875. Now, the first edition of this book is something that I would love to have my hands on, and I'll tell you why. It was printed in a 1,000-copy batch, and they were riddled with typos because the shithead printer was reading it, was like, these aren't words, and corrected all of Mary's like terms that she made up into real words, so none of it actually makes sense.
That's funny.
Yeah. It didn't sell very well at first. She had to go door to door to kind of
That's
knock it. Yeah, hey,
funny.
what's up?
The printer was just like, silly woman doesn't know words.
Right.
Let me help.
Yeah,
and he's making like these abomination Frankenstein run-on sentences.
This printer was the first autocorrect where you're like,
Yeah.
I'm trying to get this word. Please let me get this word, but then it just corrects it to something completely different.
That happens.
Yeah.
The other podcasts I do, Heavy Hole, a lot of the bands I review, their names are something that's terrible. And Google, when I'm doing my reviews and stuff, I'll write them up in Google and it will change the names of the albums and stuff. And God, just let it be. No one asked. Leave it alone.
No one asked with a T.
With a T.
Yeah.
No one asked.
It's
AST.
like when I did Ned Kelly and it kept auto-correcting to Bed Jelly.
Yes, you mentioned that. I think bed jelly is a wonderful way to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this book had loads of plagiarisms from Quimby, as I previously alluded to. Her Christian Scientist followers began traveling to tell the word. This gained her enough traction to open her own accredited college in Massachusetts, called the Massachusetts Metaphysical College in Boston, 1881.
Hey, wait. Cody, I saw your brain like crinkle.
I
Metaphysical college?
No, the fact that, like, Tom, say it again. It was the Massachusetts of Boston. Why are you going to call the city and then the state?
No, it's the Massachusetts Metaphysical College in Boston.
So you don't need to say Massachusetts.
Well,
And also, metaphysical.
Well, we will have fun there, I suppose. The college was open under the seal of Commonwealth of Massachusetts, a law relative to colleges having been passed, which enabled her to get this institution chartered for medicinal purposes. You graduate from this place, you are recognized to be a doctor.
That's dumb.
This is a
Someone
woman
go there,
who
get us
spent
Vicodin.
most of her life in bed, and the rest of it was looking at the sun. She made a college.
Dude, I want to make a college. Can we start college, dude? Is it this
sun
easy?
staring college.
Well, we educate people. We do.
Yeah.
So the state recognized this as a medical college. So it's infuriating to hear that now. But at the time, we have discussed several people who were doctors around this time period, and medicine was a joke. We all know that. It was like John Brinkley, who was just after this time period, 30 years later. The guy used to slip goat nuts into men nuts and was a doctor. This was normal shit. Like, this is how stupid it was. The way I look at it is that there should have been no board to give out medical certifications.
No, I think at the time you could be a doctor if you called someone's legs Wiggly Boys.
Oh, Travis,
let me see them two
you are
Wiggly
a doctor
Boys.
in that,
you know, I'm a doctor, dude. Those Wiggly Boys are not wiggling well enough. I'm gonna make them wiggle more.
It's disgusting.
You just touch jumper cables to nipples. Wiggle, damn you.
Yeah,
Travis can see a sick person from a mile away.
It takes one
Hunt
to
them
know
down.
one.
Now, the latest husband that I talked about, Asa Gilbert Eddy, he died due to a bad heart in 1882. Now, Mary was shocked. She was just like, what? I've been doing fucking science on this guy. Why is he dead? When the doctors told her that it was because there was a heart issue, she was like, open him up. Let's see it. Show me the heart. I'm a doctor. So upon viewing the heart, she said, oh, just as I thought, this dude was poisoned. Mesmerically poisoned.
Yeah.
And
I
such
like to
high
imagine she's like holding just like his like fucking testicles. Like, oh yes, this heart is wrong.
This is like if Neil Patrick Harris actually thought that he was a doctor because he was in Doogie Howser.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, that's what happened. They actually took the heart out of his chest during an autopsy, and they gave it to her. And she goes, oh, it all makes sense now. Such high doses of mesmeric poison. There's nothing anyone could have done to save this guy's life. My hands are clean. Now where can I wash my hands? The school took in a total of 4,000 students during her tenure from 1882 to 1889. The college was closed down so she could revise her book, Science and Health with the Key to Scripture, and opened the Mother Church in Boston in 1894.
Oh.
The Mother Church.
It's a Mother Church of the Christian Scientist, or Church,
okay.
or Church of Jesus, Scientist.
Dude, well, Jesus is a scientist.
Yeah.
I mean, he invented magnets.
Just in case you didn't get that before, the name of the church is that. Like, Christian Scientist is the shorter version of Church of Christ, Science. I mean, yeah, Church of Christ, Scientist.
Gotcha.
So, in 1898, she also started the Christian Science Publishing Society, which led to the periodical magazine called the Christian Science Monitor. That opened up in 1908, and that's still around today. And apparently...
Okay. Tom, I gotta ask you, is this woman loaded right now?
Yes, because those 4,000 people that she taught were each paying around $300 for their tuition.
Oh!
What the fuck?
So she went from being desperately broke and bouncing around from friend's house and various boarding houses to getting a following, and then a few years later charging that kind of money. Now
talking about mesmeric poison. Okay.
Mesmeric poison. This is real stuff, Cody. Trust me. Now, another hat that Mary wore was a medium.
Ooh. Medium-sized hat.
I love mediums.
Right. So now we're talking about Helen Duncan. She did dabble in this. She got into the seances and talking to people on the other side. Now, she made this to fund herself and her heroin habit and some of her church. She was a spiritualist for quite some time. And she would also use this time to recruit people for her church. Now, after some time of her being a spiritualist, she realized that that wasn't good now she had more followers coming in and speaking on her behalf. So she tried to wipe that off the map.
I
But-
gotta clean that out, dude.
Right.
No. I said I'm Chris Angel, not David Blaine.
Right.
Or not Chris. Was it Edward Snowden? Who's the guy?
Edward
fuck
Snowden
is he
and David Blaine, they're the same person.
Yeah, the same guy.
They've
Right.
never been in the same room.
No, who's
at
the
same
who's the
time.
Edward guy? Oh fuck.
Edward
I'm mixing
Scissorhands. Edward Norton.
What?
Who?
John Edwards.
John Edwards. Right. John Edwards.
God.
Right. He's funny, and I wouldn't kill him. But when he dies, we're going to have a fun episode.
Yeah.
Okay. So she goes out of her way to erase any trace of her being a spiritualist, just like many women in the next 5-6 years will be trying to erase their OnlyFans accounts and any trace of that.
Be proud. Stand proud.
Well, practice be, practice don't. I learned that from a wise woman. Now, a Dr. Carl A. Wickland wrote in one of his books in 1934, the fact that Miss Eddy was a medium has been abundantly proven, and there is still persons living who affirm that they not only witnessed, but also assisted in Miss Eddy's psychic work as a medium. Among other correspondents is a man who attended Miss Eddy's mediumistic work for a period for some 3 years. Many others have informed us that they have personally known Miss Eddy as a medium. We ourselves have a clipping from a Boston newspaper where Miss Eddy has advertised herself as a medium, giving readings for 50 cents a sitting. So, as much as these Christian scientists deny that she was a spiritualist and a charlatan, we have it in paper, herself putting it that way. So I don't know. This is a church that still exists today, and they still praise this woman. And even people who don't follow her in the church find her as a feminist icon. But she's just a joke, as a lot of people are on this show.
Well, I mean, I feel like that's just like religious figures, right? Though, because like the last pope was like, no, he wasn't a Nazi. He's the pope.
Right.
But people are like, dude, this guy was a Nazi. It's like, no, he lives in Rome, dude. He's the pope. Like, no, he lived in Germany. and
He's
was
supposed to be a Nazi. It's fine.
Supposed to be.
So in her book Science and Health, as I just mentioned, there's lots of evidence that she was a spiritual healer. Now, in this book that sold over 10 million copies that she wrote, of course paired with a Bible, Science and Health, she wrote at page 66, "We are never a spiritualist, and never were, and never could be, and never admitted that we were a medium. I am not a medium." So right there, you have a very bold-faced lie in a book that is supposed to be an archetype for a religion, in which you could easily pull up documentation that she was a medium.
Okay.
Right. Well, that would be like if Dr. Phil all of a sudden became what he has been trying to become, a rock star.
Right. Well,
Or a hip hop artist. And then he comes out, he's on The Breakfast Club, and he's like, dude, I was never into fucking therapy, dude. I was a rapper the entire time.
I was a rapper. I've never even been on TV. That's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Dr. Phil. I've never been on TV, never had a mustache.
Why is he saying that at the Breakfast Club?
Right? Isn't that The Breakfast? What is
Breakfast
that
Club
one?
with Charlemagne the God.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right. So, of course, this is just a peek into the life of a con woman that she was, really. And speaking of which, Mary was also a bit of a teetotaler. Travis, you called it before. She was into her heroin, essentially. She liked her morphine.
Right.
Yeah.
But she
But
was
not the drink. Not the drink.
No. specifically anything. She was just like, don't do it.
Except for her heroin.
No, she didn't want her followers to know she was on junk.
Oh.
So
She
she's a
wasn't even like
hypocrite.
William S. Burroughs type. So the cause of temperance receives a strong impulse from the cause of Christian Science. Temperance and truth are allies, and their cause prospers in proportion to the spirit of love that nerves the struggle. People will differ in their opinions as to means to promote the ends of temperance. That is, abstinence from intoxicating beverages. Whatever intoxicates a man stultifies and causes him to degenerate physically and morally. Strong drink is unquestionably an evil, and evil cannot be used temperately. In its slightest use, it's abuse. Hence, only temperance is total abstinence.
So basically, I'm a bitch hypocrite.
Yes. So, this is fine. Mary was a morphine addict since her fall in 1866, as mentioned.
Right.
This is total cult leader behavior, or person behavior. It's fine. Feminist icon? Sure, why not? This is why I think women like WWF's China should be canonized by the modern feminists. Because most of these folks don't know what the fuck they want anyway, and it would be the most honest thing they could do. And while I'm at it, if you believe anything at all, you're wrong. Let everyone do heroin all the time. Make the WNBA a division of NASA so we can pretend to care about it more honestly. The View should be hosted by 3 gender-fluid persons named Danny and Whoopi Goldberg's dog. Nothing matters. Mary Baker Eddy would have stopped 9/11 if she made the flight, and is a hero regardless. Who the fuck are we worshiping?
Oh, jeez,
I got really
Tom.
upset when I was writing this.
That was religious.
Yeah.
That was very minister esque.
You know, I just think that everyone should do what they need to do. You know, there's too many. I think that's one of the good things, right, about nowadays. Tom, I'm taking the opposite approach to you. I mean, I seem to have a lot of very sarcasm going on here. I don't give a shit what you do, dude. Back in the day, there was too many walls. You gotta be like, I don't like to drink, but I'll do heroin.
Yeah.
Like now, you could be like, whatever you want to be, you could be. Do heroin.
Look,
or whatever you want to do.
Everything I just said, I feel that. I don't believe anything I said is irony. I just got so pent up when I read things like this. Like, you're not even a good cult leader. You're not even a good cult leader.
Well, yeah, she
Not
isn't.
even.
She's shitty.
Right. So she's just acting crazy. And speaking of my behavior just now, speaking of psychotic behavior,
Yes.
has anyone here ever heard of the term malicious animal magnetism?
No.
That is when animal magnetism is a branch of mesmerism, and with the prefix malicious, I would assume that's someone using it for evil.
Yes, exactly. It is a
What is animal
Cool.
magnetism?
Yeah, very good.
It's when it's like a man on female experience. It's borderline sexual release without touching. It's just eye staring and knee bumping. Like there's no
like-
everyone's fully clothed.
Like frotting.
It's like-
frotting.
thought.
No, there's not even rubbing. It's just
Okay.
like I would assume if you're like just pent up and like a fucking like weird mustachioed male mesmer like stares in your eyes, it's some kind of cathartic release for like not getting laid enough women back in the day.
Right, so it's like the sad man that goes to a strip club and just from watching comes his pants.
That's kind of like that if the genders were reversed and we're in the period.
Okay,
of
all
this
right,
time.
I get it. I got you.
I don't know how I knew that.
Well, Cody, you're pretty spot on. It's a term coined that was basically the basis of George Lucas's well-known film, The Star Wars. Now, if you can heal people, this is the idea. If you can heal people with prayer and thought with the help of Jesus, you can fuck people up by praying to Satan. Now, I'm going to quote this bitch right now. One of the greatest crimes practiced in or known to the ages is mental assassination.
Mind bullets.
A mind liberated from the beliefs of sense to do good by perverting its power becomes warped into the lines of evil without let or hindrance. So, if this isn't occultism, I don't know what is. Mary also reevaluated her husband's death from years prior, changing the phrasing from mesmeric poison to malicious animal magnetism assassination. And with any amateur cult, you're going to get defectors, right? She's got this cult going on. Whenever she wasn't feeling well, she blamed it on her many defectors using her own teachings against her, like some kind of white wizard. Mary believed that she was being attacked by up to 50,000 roast mortem listeners at any given time, and she created a network of bodyguards to protect her from these telepathic attacks. Now,
Wait, these are telepathic bodyguards?
yeah, they would just hang out around her and
But are these real people? Like, can I knock them down, or are they like in her mind.
You could punch every one of these people in the face.
Okay, so they're tangible.
So they just hang out and they're just like, oh, I'm going to block those fucking brainwaves through your mem.
No, they were like students of the school. Like they would pay $300 to be in the school, and she'd be like, "I'll give you $1 off your fucking tuition if you stand outside my door all night for a year."
Right. So this is like ROTC, but for brain children that are dumb.
Right, exactly. So this was something that she instilled upon all of her followers. She's like, "Look, this shit is real, and if I die, it's definitely not because of old age or heroin abuse. It's because I got mentally assassinated." So, with that being said, can someone ask me how Mary was mentally assassinated?
All right, I gotta ask this one.
Do it.
When did her brain get more wrinkled, like super wrinkled, from mentally being assassinated?
That's a great question. So, December 3rd, 1910, she died in her home in Chestnut Hill, Newton, Massachusetts, of pneumonia. That's it. She died. To this day, she is... Oh, God. To this day, if you search this woman online, you will find lots of followers. Now, they're not as crazy as Scientology people. They don't have the power, but people still think that this is a legitimate woman. Yeah, she was a woman. She was a real woman, but she was not a leader.
Well, it's still a church today, Christian Science.
Yeah, I mean, like every other church, their attendees have fallen dramatically, but here we are.
So, all right, so we got her and Martin Luther. We've got, how many denominations do we have left of Protestantism?
Oh, I thought you were going to say of every religion. I'm just like off with billions, shitloads, like of Protestantism. I don't know.
Yeah, it's crazy what happens. You got
Probably
this
not
woman.
billions.
You got this woman. She makes a religion. The religion's still around. It's based on nothing. As I mentioned at the beginning, there is an overlap of legit Christians and legit science people going, "What the fuck is this even?"
Yeah, okay.
It's an abomination of any thought process.
Yeah, both sides are like, no one asked for this.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Like when like the first when like the first Steve Irwin saw a platypus, like who the fuck signed off on this thing?
Right, and it's not even cool. Because all the people who are into it are like, "Yeah, dude, I got a cold one time. I prayed, and the science said I was better."
So does this? I don't really know too much about Christian Science, but do they look at her kind of like a
She's an L. Ron Hubbard.
Is she like an L. Ron Hubbard? Like, do people like not worship her, but
well, she raped a lot less kids, but people do worship her. She
Okay.
didn't have the fucking muscle to be L. Ron.
Well, right, L. Ron's got that fucking Battlestar Galactica dick.
Right. He had the Hollywood people, which is they're two different. Let's put it this way: they drink from the same water. These two.
Yeah,
Her shit didn't catch on as much. It never hit Hollywood. It was mostly West Coast. There are still people. It's an American religion.
yeah.
So it's like Mormonism. It's actually more akin to Joseph Smith, which Cody brought up before.
I did not.
Yeah, you did.
I
It
did.
was Travis.
One of you guys did.
Don't worry, my brain works still. You think that I just talk about my pee-pee and fucking clams, but don't worry.
It's such a non-invasive invasive religion that it doesn't really enter our sphere of thought when we think about religions that much. But there was a Christian Science church or Christian Science reading room around the corner from me, next to my dentist office.
Well, that's very ironic because she was married to a dentist. I bet they didn't even know that.
I bet you they didn't. And I wonder if that dentist, oh my God, it was reincarnate. No, but in all seriousness, this was an episode that was very fun to research because I didn't know anything about Christian Science whatsoever. So I went in blind.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah.
Nice.
No, thank you, Tom, for bringing this stupid bitch in.
Hey, guys, you're welcome. It's a lot more fun to bring in them stupid bitches than those perfect people. Shout out to Cary Grant. But thanks for listening. Sorry if I yelled too much. And by sorry, I mean, take it.
Take it up, butt.
Take it. Take it.
Jesus entered me through science. That's this whole episode. I think I'm a Christian Scientist because right now I feel full.
Nice, dude.
I feel full with beer, but also with Jesus and science. Like if you could take a Earl Meyer flask and shove it into me.
Oh wow!
Oh,
with
that's
Christ.
That's
me.
pretty
inside the flask.
Yeah. like a little tiny figurine of Christ in the Earl Meyer flask.
Oh, God. I wonder how many times this woman thought Jesus entered her and didn't dare mention to her followers. Because, she was still, you got to wait till marriage. Can't marry Jesus.
If I was slightly religious and I did a lot of heroin, I would think I'd get fucked by Jesus.
That would
We
be
didn't
cool.
say fucked, we said entered.
And, come on, Cody. Let's cut around the bushes. And we should also cut around the bushes when we end the show.
You make these idioms up.
Yeah,
we cut around the bush.
You should go around.
You mix up splitting hairs and beating around the bush.
All right, well, we'll cut around the bushes. We're going to go right in the end of the show. You should go to roastmortemcast.com, where you could buy our shirts and check out interesting data. And then
Interesting data.
you can also go to patreon.com/roastmortemcast, where you could give us some bills. And we release some interesting stuff, like you see notes about our show. And I don't know. Sometimes we do stupid shit with our mouth.
Yeah.
I'll give that a big old I. Agree with Travis.
It's very weird to close the show out, Tom. You do a good job.
I'm tired of talking, but I'll do it. Thank you for listening to the show. The show is Roast Mortem. Remember it. Tell your friends. Give us a review. You know what? Give us
Roast
a review.
Mortem.
Make it a bad review. Give us the worst review you can imagine.
No.
Give us that dismal 4-star review. One of the worst you can give.
I've never had those.
Trying to get itself out there. Oh, we're such a young podcast. We've only been doing this for a few years now. We should got our shit together by now. But no, seriously, thank you for listening. We love you very much. Thank you all the Patreon people. The Discord is getting more fun. We are developing it. And
Working on it.
our subjects are getting more fun too. Mike is the only part that isn't more fun.
And next week we will all shave our heads so we can get more listeners, because we'll be like Joe Rogan.
All right, that's it. Zwick, cut it out. We're
Bye. But guess what, dude? I did DMT one time. Kanima must be on the show. And Grimes.
Cutting around the bush.
I want to be on Grimes' TV show.
Bye. Good night.